Am I responsible for others and for future generations? We are back with Know and Grow. We've been on part 8 of our A-Team series, Allegiance, and we did it in 4 parts. Today is the 4th part. So we're going to talk about, am I responsible? And yes, you're going to find out that we are. Welcome back to Know and Grow. You can't live what you don't know. I'm Bonnie Wiley, wife, mother, follower of Jesus, called to ministry, doing what I love most. We've gone over 3 parts of allegiance. Does God care about land? Should we always obey our leaders? Can't we just play nice? And today is, am I responsible for others and for future generations? But just in case that you just weren't quite sure about some of the things I brought up about whether we should obey our leaders and follow everything and kind of fit right in with everything that's going on and just be quiet and pray our way through it only, I want to give you one more person that maybe those other people I brought up you weren't quite sure about, but some of you know Perry Stone, and I thought it would be good to hear what he might have to say about this. So I'm going to take you to that page, and here we go. And we're going to just play a little bit of what he had to say. He's going to start off by talking about how the early church felt about some scriptures they were being told. Well, they weren't being told the scriptures. They weren't officially the scriptures yet, but the teachings of the early fathers.
Are martyred, they are beheaded, they are persecuted, they are put in prison, they are targeted first by radical Islamists. And so if you look at Christianity, it is the most persecuted religion on the face of the earth. Now, in the time of the Roman Empire, Christians used these verses to become very passive. They wouldn't protect themselves. They wouldn't a lot of times they wouldn't defend themselves, let me say that, by force, because here's what it says. If they smite you on one cheek, turn the other cheek. The soldier said to John, what shall we do? And John said, do no violence to no man. Be happy with your wages. He's talking to soldiers here. Christians would show mercy and kindness to their enemies and endure beatings and persecution, according to St. Augustine. So, in other words, in the time of the Roman Empire, the Christians accepted their persecution as a badge of honor instead of trying to pray themselves out of it many times, or instead of defending themselves or fleeing or resisting, they just sort of endured it. Now,
Okay, we're going to stop there. And so when he said all that, I was hoping he would go on to say more about it, but then he got into something else. But later he comes back to it. So let me take you there.
We see how that there is this culture of, if you don't believe the way we do, we ban you. If you don't teach what we want, we report in the newspapers and magazines negative about you. And folks, listen to me. The spirit of freedom and the spirit of liberty is being suppressed right now in the United States of America because of the spirit of Antichrist that is attempting to silence the voices of Americans. And, you know, that's one of the reasons I really believe the Holy Spirit, the book that you've seen us offer on the telecast, I believe one of the reasons that the Holy Spirit inspired me. I'm talking about very heavy inspiration and revelation and putting things together. I think the reason the inspiration was so strong is the Lord knew that this spirit of Antichrist was trying to, if you're a conservative Christian, if you're a true flag-waving, God-loving American patriot, if you're just, someone who believes in the truth of the Word, we are under attack by the spirit of Antichrist, and it's like it's hitting us from every direction. And the thing about this spirit, and I want you to listen to me, it's connected with the spirit of hopelessness, to where if you're not careful, you will feel like, well, there's nothing we can do. We just have to accept what's coming. Don't be passive the way some of the, if I can say this, the blessed, wonderful Christians in the early church became in the first and second century. They just kind of accepted what happened. They were passive. And in their passivity, they ended up in persecution, and they ended up being arrested and tortured, even in their passivity. You cannot be passive, and you've got to learn from the past. And this is one thing I'm telling you, if there's ever something that is true, a true statement, we do not learn from the past. We go back. I mean, look, communism does not...
Okay, so you heard it from Perry Stone. If you don't accept it from anyone else, maybe you'll accept it from him. And I have his book on my website. Here's my website, knowandgrow4life.com, number 4, not spelled out F-O-U-R, but knowandgrow4life.com. And if you go to resources, books, devotionals, journals, and Bibles, it will take you to this page right here. And let me just scroll down, give you an idea of what's on there. Just some books for everyone. Contemplation, priorities, and simplicity. That's a section you don't often or perhaps see on somebody's website. The Holy Spirit and Power. Prayer and Faith. Healing. Victory over the enemy and fasting. Finances. Walking in all God has for you. And now here is where I want to show you Perry Stone's book. It's Current Events and End Times. And if you click on it, it will take you to Amazon. And if you order it after clicking on it, I get just a very, very small amount of money because I'm an Amazon affiliate. It doesn't cost you a thing. Just if you come into my website, go to anything that's listed like that on my website that takes you to Amazon, I will get just a tiny little commission, but everything adds up. So anyway, let's go ahead and look at that book. There it is. America's Apocalyptic Reset, Unmasking the Radicals' Blueprints to Silence Christians, Patriots, and Conservatives. Right now, it's only in the Kindle edition, but I imagine it'll come out soon in paperback. Okay, so let's go on. We have been using the song America the Beautiful, and we're finishing up on the 4th stanza, and I'm going to play it for you right now. So it's saying, "Oh, beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea." So, am I responsible for others and for future generations? Do I need to see beyond the years, like that 4th stanza talks about? Should I be making decisions in my life now that affect the future? Yes. And I'm going to just show you a little bit of a very short clip here to see what some of our younger people are thinking. Here we go. It's Greg Gutfield.
And somehow exceptionalism is easier to condemn than terrorism.
There's a recent video that came out from the Virginia Department of Education that showcased an American University lecturer, and she basically said that when talking about 9/11, we should avoid talking about American exceptionalism. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. We definitely should, because we don't need more nationalism in this country. We need more, like, healthcare. I don't know. I think they should focus on America's faults, not like how amazing we are and how we need to be superior, because we're not.
In terms of propagating this idea that our nation is the best no matter what, I would agree that that should be avoided.
I don't think we should be talking about like the greatness of the country.
I definitely don't agree that America is the best country on the earth. I think that we still need a lot of like fixing.
I think it's a dangerous mindset to teach young people that, because I think that's the reason why a lot of people grow up to be kind of extremists and like really nationalistic.
Oh, I hope stupidity is not contagious. But why would someone their age think this country is exceptional? They got to the party late. The house is crowded. They don't know these new people who just keep strolling in. Fights are breaking out. The keg is almost empty, and the authorities are on their way to shut it down. They arrived as this once great party started winding down. And sadly, to them, something horrible perpetrated against us is just another opportunity to talk about how bad we are.
So yeah, there are a lot of things that need to be fixed in America. I think anybody would agree with that. But that doesn't mean we demean our country. I want to also talk about the $3.4 trillion spending spree that the Democrats want to do. Now, should we look down the road at how that's going to affect us? Or should we just go ahead and spend to our heart's delight? Well, of course, you know the answer. How about, others being led down a wrong path? Am I responsible for that? There was something not too long ago about a school teaching their kids, the pupils, boy, that's an old word. That shows how old I am. I don't think anybody calls the students pupils anymore. But it was about worshiping Aztec gods, and let me show that to you.
And it seems as though every day we bring you another story of the attack on our children in America's public schools from the people that demand separation of church and state today. When we bring you parents that are suing the California Department of Education new curriculum for ethnic studies classes in an effort to stop the teaching of chants to Aztec gods. Now, the class involves affirmation, chants, and energizers, which invoke 5 Aztec deities, recognizing them by name and as a source of power. The class also studies voodoo and Christianity, with the latter to be resisted as it is the source of theocide. It's interesting the class frames Christianity that way, as the Aztecs sacrificed people for everything from feeding the gods to fair weather to killing the losers in athletic contests. Tim, back to you.
The Nazis took people down a wrong path. They banned guns. They got rid of God, banned church services, burned Bibles and books in the streets. They tore down statues. They burned the flag. Does it sound familiar? Got rid of any and all history they did not agree with. Got rid of the public police so only the rich could afford it. Put their country in a state of fear. And created domestic terrorist organizations that got rid of anything and anyone that disagreed with them. So these are some of the wrong paths that we are trying to avoid. We are responsible for what comes next by the actions that we take now. Should I care about the Great Reset? Let's look at that for a moment. As you can see, this is from the World Economic Forum. You'll own nothing and be happy. You'll rent everything. So if you're in a perpetual living where you're always going to have to rent, you're never going to own something so you can stop renting. How's that good? Now that's going to be artificial. Who knows whether that'll be good or not? Forget your steaks. Refugees welcome. That's happening already. Okay, we're going to have to pay a gas tax, which we're talking about already. Yeah. You want to go to Mars? Okay, so as you saw there, the Western values they're attacking Western values. And I'm going to show you just one more thing. And then once I show you this, I want to take you to something I found by Jeff Childers. And we're going to walk through some of the steps that you can take if you are in danger or you know someone who's in danger of losing their job because they don't feel comfortable about taking the vaccine that they're pushing on everyone. But first, I just want to show you one more thing, and this is Jonathan Shuttlesworth. I think first he's going to briefly talk about Nigeria, and just catch the part where in Nigeria, you won't even be able to do banking unless you had the vaccine. And then he's going to move over to Australia. And of course, I'm sure you've been watching all kinds of things about Australia. And so this might not be new news, but it is interesting. Here we go, Nigeria.
No banking services. Now, you'd have to be willfully blind to not see that this is coordinated globally. Edo State, UK, Australia, Biden tomorrow. Who's pulling the strings? The whole world, other than a few places, was open in the summer, and they came back from that G7 summit, and somebody told them that they better get the vaccinations done. No doubt in my mind. Next. The noose is tightening in communist Melbourne, Australia. Pastor Rodney just sent this to me while I was driving in, so I want to see it. Okay, here's Melbourne. Stadiums, race courses, theme parks, and zoos can reopen to the fully vaccinated with social distancing. Fully vaccinated people can attend ticketed and seated outdoor events with a 500-person cap. Cinemas, theaters, music halls, museums, and galleries can reopen to the fully vaccinated with a 4 square meter rule or 70% seated capacity. Weddings can go ahead with 50 fully vaccinated guests. So you're not allowed to have unvaccinated people at your own wedding. Dancing is allowed, but drinking must occur while sitting down. Sounds scientifically sound. 50 fully vaccinated guests can attend funerals. So you can't go to your mother or father's funeral if you haven't had the vaccine. Churches and places of worship can open to the fully vaccinated with a so now no church in Melbourne if you're not vaccinated. They told you this was coming. I told you this was coming from the beginning. If you didn't stand up and fight, you were called a conspiracy theorist. So enjoy your prison in Melbourne. Still waiting for one Australian with a national ministry to speak up on behalf of the church. Churches and travel across New South Wales can occur with caravan parks and camping grounds open to the fully vaccinated and carpooling permitted. So what travel across New South Wales? So you can't drive if you're not fully vaccinated? Children under 16 can access all outdoor settings. Holy moly. I'll tell you, you read this. Now this is the plan globally. So you don't stand up and fight, it'll come to your own nation. So don't look at whatever new restrictions they put in as just that restrictions. It's a press towards totalitarianism.
Okay, we're going to stop there. Amazing, isn't it? And you've seen, he's just talking about it there, about Melbourne, but you have seen the beatings. The police are beating people, for hurting someone, robbing, something serious. No, for not having their face diaper on, beating people up. You've seen the videos. Okay, that's enough. So you see why we have to do something, speak up, act, and we are responsible for what happens to other people and what happens to them down the road.